Hi all, just going to go through indices 2 as a walkthrough. So, first section is a recap. So we're going to all the rules that we've just learnt in indices 1. So the first one up here, when I'm timesing the two numbers together, I'm going to add the indices. When I'm dividing, I'm going to subtract the indices. When there's brackets involved and it's to a power of a bracket, I'm going to multiply them. A to the power of 1 is just A, and anything to the power of 0 is just 1. In this lesson we're going to learn how to deal with negative powers, and also we're going to do more of the higher stuff, and also how to combine harder expressions using these rules here. So these are the key building blocks. Once you've got these, anything indices wise becomes a little bit more easy. So you know that 2 to the power of 3 means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. What does 2 to the negative 3 mean? So the first reaction, it may be negative 8, okay, which is not correct. Okay, so working out some values, you should spot a pattern emerging which will help you to see what the negative power means. 2 to the power of 4, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is going to be 16. To 3, power of 3 is going to be 8. 2 squared is 4. 2 to the power of 1 is 2. 2 to the power of 0 is 1. 2 to the power of negative 1 is 1 over 2, which is a half. And you can see it's half in each time. So the next one is going to be a quarter. And the next one is going to be an eighth. Okay, so all that's happened is we've halved each of these numbers. So when I'm doing a power of 2 and it's reducing by 1 power each time, the number is going to halve. Okay, now thinking about the pattern, 2 to the power of 3 is 8. So 2 to the power of negative 3 is 1 over 8. So all that happens is when we've got a negative, it becomes 1 over whatever the positive power would be. So 2 to the power of 3 in this case is 8. So the negative creates a reciprocal, which just means you flip what the power would be upside down. So reciprocal of a half, because 2 times a half equals 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Okay. So the reciprocal of 2 to the power of 3, 1 over 2 to the power of 3, because 2 to the power of 3 times 1 over 2 to the power of 3 would equal. So all we're doing is putting 1 over, and then the value that we're putting in is the positive version. Okay. So any power, any base number to the power of a negative n will turn into being 1 over the positive base number to the power. Okay. So it's quite easy when you get used to it, but if you just remember whatever is on the left hand side of the equals, if you change the sign to a positive and put it underneath 1 divided by 1 over, that's all you're doing. Okay. So another way to understand negative powers is the rules of indices. So if you think 3a to the power of 3 divided by a to the power of 7, I'm not taking 3 away from 7. Normal rules of subtraction is we would always take, or try to always take, the smallest number away from the biggest number. In this case, this is going to give me a negative power. Okay, so if we write it out in full, okay, that would be A, and then 7 A's at the bottom. I can cross 3 A's off from the top to the bottom, but then I run out of A's on the top, so I'm left with 4 underneath the fraction. So I've got nothing on the top, divide by 4 A's. So it would be a to the negative 4. Okay, so similar to what we've got here. 1 over a to the power of 4. So that's an alternative way of trying to picture what's happening. Okay. Let's give it a go. A to the power of -2. Okay. So we know the top one's going to be 1. The base number stays the same. Becomes a to the power of 2. Top number will be 1. B to the power of 2. If you want to pause the video and finish the rest and then restart, give it a go. Okay, so let's go through. 1, 3 to the 8, 1, D to the 6, 1, 7 to the 8. Now, on the right hand side, we've got to do the reverse and put it back into the -4. So, P is my base number, and it's to the -7. 5 is my base number, and I take the power and just make it negative. R is my base number. Now 1 over R, okay, means the base number to -1. I've only got 1 of them, so it would normally be a power of 1 there, but obviously from the last video we don't write the power, so R to the -1. S to the -2, and finally T to the -7. And on we go. So rewrite these fractions using fractions. So we're going to put it as a fraction here. So thinking about it, again, it's just a different way of writing it. So 5 to the power of -2 is going to be 1 over 5 to the power of 2. And 5 to the power of 2, we now need to evaluate that and make that into what is 5 squared? 1 over 25. Again, if you want to pause it and give it a go, feel free to. Okay, so we've got 1 over base number 2, power of 6. 1 over base number 6, power of 1. And again, normally we could just put that as 1 over 6. 1 over base 3, power of 4. 1 over base 10, power of 6. Now evaluating all of these, 2 squared, 2 to the power of 6, it's going to be 1 over, and again if you get stuck and you want to use a calculator, remember it's the x to the y key, so 2 to the power of 6 gives me 64. 1 to the power of 6, 6 to the power of 1 is just 6 itself. 3 to the power of 4, or 3 to the power of 3 is 27. 27 times 3 gives me 81. And then 1 to the power of, we've got 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. And that's complete. We can use these rules to simplify expressions. So if you want to see the index rules, you can leave them up there. Okay. This time there is a coefficient. A coefficient just means a number in front of my variable. So I've got a 3 in there and I've got a 2 in there. Now all we're going to do is the coefficient of x to the power of 4 is 3. Oops, the side rules. Okay, so that's 3 times x to the power of 4. 2 times x to the power of 5. And remember, that's all being times together. So, do the numbers together, 3 times 2. Okay. That gives me 6. X to the power of 4 and x to the power of 5. I'm just timesing those two together, so I add the index terms and the indices. So that's x to the power of 9, and the 6 then goes back in front as the coefficient. So 6x to the power of 9. Division is exactly the same, but using the subtraction rule. So how many 3's go into 12? 3 goes into 12 4 times. And then we've got 2a's on the top, a squared, and we've got a to the power of 5 on the bottom. So again, I'm taking this away, so don't fall into the trap of taking it away incorrectly. Okay, it ends up being 4a to the negative 3. Now remember, we can tidy that up in the sense of and make that into take the negative 3 out. Okay, so my base number is 4a. Okay, and it would be 1 over 4a to the power of 3. Okay, looking at the bracket one, you need to be really careful on this one, and this was one that I would recommend that you actually do write out fully. Okay, so remember, we're timesing the whole of that 3 times. Now if we expand out again, put all the numbers together, so we times the numbers together, and then we deal with the indices and the variable. 5 times 5 times 5 is 125, and then I've got h to the power of 4 plus 4 is 8, plus another 4 is 12, so 125 h to the power of 12. Okay, so again, write it out in full, put the numbers together and multiply them to give me my 125, and then work out the index rule, h 4 plus 4 plus 4. Okay. Again, it is a slightly different way of doing this one, but you can see it's a slightly simplified version. We cube the 5 in front, so 5 cubed gives me 125, and then we just do the multiplication of the brackets to give me 12. That will work as well, whichever way you feel more comfortable with. And finally, we've got a mixture of all the ones we've just done in the indices for the negative numbers, okay, and the coefficients. So again, if you need to show the index rules, you can have those up while you're doing it. This one is a coefficient of 2 and a coefficient of 1. So 2 times 1 gives me 2. X to the power of 8, x to the power of 3 gives me x to the power of 11. 3 times 3 is my coefficient. 3 times 3 is 9. I've got y squared times y to the negative 7. Remember, I'm adding this, so this I'm going to be 2 plus minus 7. And a plus and a minus makes a minus, so 2 take away 7 gives me 9x to the negative 5. Okay, so just take care with those signs. If it's got a negative in as a power, and I'm using the addition rule, that negative still comes in, so it makes it 2 plus minus 7. This one here, 2 divided by how many 2's go into 8? 2 goes into 8 4 times. R to the power of 9, take away 4, using the subtraction rule, that gives me R to the power of 5. The square of 5, I'm going to do it the shortcut version. The square of 5 is 25. Okay, and then 2 times 8 gives me 16. 25p to the power of 16. And this one here, 3 times 4 gives me 12. And 12a to the power of 12. 12a to the power of 12 is this little bit here. Now I'm going to go on and do my my product, of these two here, and divide by 2. So 2 goes into that 6 times. A cubed, a to the power of 12, I subtract that away,